Welcome back to TechniqueWOD. I'm Doug Larson with the Barbell Shrugged podcast. Today we're going to talk about two assistance movements that athletes just simply aren't doing enough of, and those are skater squats and single leg RDLs. All right, first of all, we're hanging out here at CrossFit Leucadia, or also known as Physical Culture 101 in Encinitas, California. So thank you to those guys for letting us record some videos out here in the back. Super cool dudes that train here, and we like training here too. So here's what a skater squat and a single leg RDL looks like if you've never seen one before. Usually they're done with kettlebells or dumbbells or whatever. So a single leg RDL looks like a regular RDL, except you're on one leg, just like this, whoop, and then back up. And a skater squat is similar, except I'm gonna actually bend my knee and do more of a squat, okay? So I'm here, I bend my knee, I go as low as I can with that knee bent, and then I stand all the way back up, okay? So those are two single leg variations that just don't happen that often in most people's programs. Not because they're not any good, they're awesome, just they're just not very well known for the most part, and just not a lot of people practice them. Especially if you go to a CrossFit gym and you're Metconning, they're just not very Metcon friendly movements. There's no reason you couldn't do them in Metcon, it's just not very common. So that's why if you haven't seen them, that's why you probably haven't seen them yet. So what I like to use them for is a variety of things. Number one, if you're a person who has any type of knee or back trouble, and your knees are just bugging you lately, your back's bugging you lately, it's nice to be on one leg. That way that leg can get a pretty decent load without having to load your back, number one. And then number two, the knee angle just isn't very steep. If I'm doing the RDL, my knee is only bent about that much. If I'm doing the skater squat, I probably only bend about this much. So I never really get into that full full deep squat. That might aggravate you if you already have some type of pre-existing knee issue, or if your knee is just acting a little funny and you just don't want to aggravate it further because you don't want to end up with an injury eventually. So these are both great movements. There's other movements. You could do step ups and lunges and box squats, and there's plenty of other movements you could do. But these are two very good options for people that have both knee and or low back issues. Also, if you have any type of ankle mobility restrictions, just like a regular RDL, I'm bent at the hip and my ankle basically doesn't even move. And then on the skater squat, my knee will come forward a little bit, which bends my ankle a little bit, but overall, you still just don't need that much ankle mobility. So if you have ankle mobility issues, these are some other great options to throw into your routine that more than likely your ankles won't cause you to compensate that much. Not like you would if you had poor ankle mobility and you bent your knee a lot and you squat all the way down, and then it forces your knee to dive in, and there's really not much you can do about it until you fix that ankle mobility problem. So these are some good options. Progression wise, what I like to do, eventually you'll load it with a kettlebell or something, but first we're gonna start body weight. I like to be here, I'll bend over, totally neutral spine, back will be here, totally neutral spine for the single leg RDL. I'll do a two-legged RDL. I'm gonna bend over, maybe with my hand on my back, to see how far I can go with a neutral spine. And then once I have to round, once I kind of run out of slack on the back of my legs, hamstrings, glutes, hip range of motion, once I get to here, I can't go any further. This is how far I'm also gonna go on a single leg RDL. So from here, I can just kind of shift my weight over one foot and then just extend the other leg out, squeeze my glutes so I'm nice and straight. And that's the exact position that I'm gonna go down to and then pull up from when I do a one leg RDL with weight, okay? You never wanna bend over and then destabilize your shoulders and or around your back. So we wanna find how far we can bend over on two legs, and then that same position is where I'm gonna go as I'm doing my single leg RDL as well, okay? As far as loading, there's two ways you can go about it, or two tips I'm gonna give you rather. I don't have any great place to do this, so I'm just gonna set it right here. Obviously, you wouldn't set it on a round single bumper plate like this, but if you can set it on a box or something, that way, to start with, I can get into position, and then I can just simply stand up with it. That's a lot easier to learn like that. Obviously, you're gonna wanna find a box that's at a good height. I'd probably obviously go lower than this. For the moment, I'm gonna put it right there, which again is a terrible idea. So I would start lower like this, and then I would just stand up. That way, if you're a person that's going like this and you're just like, and you're destabilizing your shoulder and you're falling to the side and you're hopping all over the place, if that's you, then then holding the weight here and starting top down is gonna be harder than if you just set it on a low box and you just go bottom up, lower back down to the box, slow, controlled, and then set it down. You can kind of reset, and you can almost just do a series of singles rather than a set of 8 or 15 or whatever you're trying to get up to. Which, that being said, in the beginning it might be easier to do sets of 5 or something like that, where you're not doing sets of 5 like you're going super crazy heavy. You're just doing sets of 5 where you're doing all the reps perfect and you're not putting yourself in a fatigue state. That way you can learn the skill of the new movement before you add more fatigue on top of that learning. So that being said as well, I also like to load one arm at a time. So if I'm here, if I'm on my left leg, my back leg, kind of replaces, or the weight kind of replaces the side that's leaving. So left leg down, right hand holds the weight. And then as I bend over, the weight kind of goes almost where I could like touch my toe, and then I come back up, okay? That's how I stay balanced. I put the weight right over my big toe, and then I come back up, okay? Obviously you don't want to bang your toe, or be careful about that. You drop the weight, it's gonna hurt. But for the most part, I've never seen anybody ever do that. But putting a big weight over your toe could be a problem potentially if you lose your balance or something like that. Just be wary of how you're positioning that weight over your foot. Okay? The reason that I like to do that, the reason I like to load this weight in my right hand as opposed to 2 dumbbells to start with, is I think that having the weight here while I'm bent over makes it easier for me to use my glute, and especially my glute medius, this kind of muscle here on the side. If you just stand on one leg like that and you put your fingers right here in your side, you'll feel the side of your hip right here, contracting pretty hard. That's your glute medius keeping you, while you're on one leg, from having your hip fall down like that, okay? So that's one more reason to do single leg movements like single leg RDLs and like skater squats, is because it'll help strengthen that glute medius muscle, which will help keep you in a neutral spine. Because if you go like this and your pelvis falls down, then to keep your spine upright, my pelvis falls like this, means my spine has to curve this way before it can go straight. It's one more way of rounding your back. You're just rounding it laterally, if you want to think about it like that, okay? So having the weight in one hand only to start with will make it easier to get that contraction kind of in the right spot. You'll load one hand as heavy as you can. Start off with 1 pood and a half, 2 pood, 35, 53, 70, whatever. And then after it's too heavy for you to hold, or you just run out of bigger dumbbells or kettlebells, then you can start loading the other hand. You could put a bar on your back. I generally don't for single leg RDLs. Usually I don't need to. Usually, I can just hold something in 2 hands and just do more and more reps. And that seems to be enough for me. If you're super strong, maybe put a bar on your back. You can try that too. I suppose there's nothing wrong with it inherently. Okay? Another thing that works really well actually is a trap bar. If you have a trap bar, you could hold a barbell too. You can do all those things. There's many ways to load it, but I like kettlebells. Okay? Skater squats, very similar, except you're just getting that little bit of a knee bend. Okay? So from the front, similar where my legs going behind me, I get that little bit of a knee bend. I go as low as I can, and then I fire back up, driving through my heel. In fact, go this way. So I'm here, I bend forward. I try to keep as much of a vertical shin as I can, neutral spine, drive through my heel and stand back up. My back toes stay pointed towards the ground. I'm not out like this, okay? So my back toes stay pointed towards the ground, drive through my heel, and I come up, okay? Squeeze my glute on the way up, ribs down. You're doing it just like you would if you were doing, a heavy quarter squat just to here, and I come up just like that, like a really high box squat, or just a really high squat in general, like a quarter squat. Nothing wrong with doing a quarter squat. It's only bad if you don't know why you're doing it, and it's the only type of squat you can do. If you can't do a full depth squat, that's a problem. If you only choose to do quarter squats, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot. Overall, your development won't be as good as it could be, but it doesn't mean that quarter squats aren't inherently bad for you. I've made a lot of really awesome PRs off of adding quarter squats to my routines, but I guess that's a conversation rather for another day. So the skater squat, though, specifically athletic-wise, if you want to think about what this looks like, this position right here you know, with one leg, I'm actually kind of in the same position I would be in if I was gonna run, you know, if I was gonna start like sprinting out of the blocks or accelerating, or similar to what you would be if you're down like pushing a prowler or something like that. So you can think about it like that. Anytime you're sprinting and you're accelerating, you're on one leg. You're on one leg only. You're kind of bent over and you're exploding off on the other leg in that same position and then going again. Yeah? So that can be like the acceleration phase. The single leg RDL, again, same thing. I'm all the way bent over kind of with a straight leg. That's kind of what you're gonna be like if you're in a full speed sprint and you're here, and then you're going to be nice and tall trying to run at top speed. Okay, so both of these can be very good, especially if you're trying to improve your sprinting speed, both for acceleration and for top speed. Okay? If you have more questions for us, you can always hit us up at barbellshrugged.com. There's a comment box now on the bottom right corner of the page. Or also you can always hit us up on our Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/barbellshrugged or Barbell Shrugged Podcast. One of those. I don't know, go to Facebook, just Google us, you'll find us. I'll see you another day.
Join the conversation every week after the episode over at barbellshrugged.com. This is also where you'll find new episodes of Barbell Shrugged, TechniqueWOD, Nuggets and Pearls, Barbell Business, Get Change, plus new articles every day on our daily blog, written by us, guests of the show, and some of the biggest names in strength and conditioning. So, go there and leave a comment now. Oh my gosh, wow, that's so cool. Yay, that's so awesome.
Did you like this video? If so, subscribe to our channel and share this with your friends.
And if you want even more free, awesome resources to help you reach your fitness goals, plus some updates that we only share over email, head over to barbellshrugged.com and sign up for the newsletter.